Hey, what's going on?
So we're gonna mostly talk about the ISF training today, but we're also gonna add in at the end going over our LG calibration videos today. So whatever questions anyone has, feel free to start asking, but we'll get to them a little bit later.
I'm doing a little bit of multitasking.
Yeah, same here. I shot a couple short videos at the training and didn't realize I shot them in log and I didn't grade them yet. So a little bonus, I'm just going to screen share DaVinci Resolve and show how people can change the look of their videos so easily by putting different LUTs on things. So that might give a little insight to how some people do videos.
Cool.
So we're getting a few people start joining in here. So we obviously did the ISF training in Florida. It was done with Joel Silver and Jason Dustle. And Dustin from radio was there as well. But the training's mostly done by Joel and Jason. But before you go to in-person training, the level 1 training is online. Very, very simple as far as like the test goes, because it asks a question, you answer, and it's either if it's wrong, it tells you it's wrong, tells you the answer, you just put in the right answer, or if you're right, then you just move on to the next one. Not very many questions anyway. It's just a lot of reading, a lot of history, and that's why if you're looking at ISF training and certification, it's something you should do later after you've gotten experience first.
True.
It's more of a hands-on type of field. So you want to get your equipment, buy a popular or common TV like an LG or Sony, and just practice, and then worry about ISF. So I know we've seen some comments recently about the training, and should you do level 1 or 2 and 3? And so that's kind of what we're going to try and answer today.
Nice. Yeah. Just going over my experience, it's one of the things that when people ask, hey, should I become certified? You're probably in a place already where you're already calibrating your friends and family's TVs, you're calibrating your own TV, you already have some entry-level equipment like a colorimeter, a P generator, like a pattern generator, software. You're probably at that point where you're looking to take things to the next level. So I'm not going to recommend, hey, I've never heard of calibration before, I want to just take the level 1 course and then go be a pro calibrator, because it's just not going to work that way, because there's way too many variables for that to really work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I would say, or add to that and say that, like I said, well, the way I started is when I got a C1 and I got my colorimeter. Eventually found out that's not enough. You really should have a spectro. And then it was just a lot of going through the process, learning, reading a lot, going to AVS forum, looking at videos, just try to get as much knowledge as you can. Do your calibration, and then reset your TV, do it again. Every time you do it, you learn something new. Even now, you still learn things. There's so many aspects to it that sometimes you just don't even realize. Like I was doing a C1 over the weekend, and when it comes to the game optimizer, like game settings, I never really mess with those. And just happened upon to find out that saves settings independently between SDR and HDR. So it's nice to know that if you want OLED Motion Pro turned on for your SDR, you don't have to turn it off when you go into HDR. It does it for you because it's saved separately.
Yeah,
it's little things like that you learn just every time you do it. So,
and that's I've got kitties.
Yeah, mine's up here like always.
I saw them on your calibration video on top of the PC, I think.
Yeah, that's her spot, and that's why my desk is so hairy. And I vacuum it all the time, and it doesn't get all the hair out. Nothing you can do about it. So, but yeah, so it's definitely very hands-on. More times you do it, the more experience you get, the more little things you learn, and really it just comes down to trying to be more efficient at it. Even at a basic level, you can get really good results, and start doing people's TVs and not have to worry about messing up too much stuff. It's just as you learn more, you learn different ways of doing things. You learn, okay, well, maybe I don't need to do this specifically. So, like, for example, in my LG video, I didn't use the auto cal for HDR, and that's because it can add posterization banding issues. It doesn't mean you can't use it. You certainly can. It's just a different way. I find doing a 2-point is good enough. And
It was really fun, by the way, to hear Joel
Mhm.
actually say that before we even opened our mouths when we were talking about HDR calibration at ISF.
Mhm.
And he was basically like, don't mess with it. It was great.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
Yeah.
It just like reaffirmed a lot of stuff we already knew.
Mhm.
And a lot of people have been bagging on me like, oh, they're changing their stand. No. They had all this set in place. Like everything that we're learning and teaching you guys and doing, they're already on top of it, which is really cool. So it was just really refreshing to sit through these courses and not feel like I was strangled into like some old standards, but things were more flexible and getting better. So I was actually really impressed that I wasn't going to sit through a course where I thought it was going to be the same as like the training that we did. So it was really neat.
Yeah, and I think the biggest reaffirmation or whatever that I got from Joel was about HDR, Dolby Vision, and how his example was when you do audio, how many times do you do it? You do it once.
Yep.
Then let the receiver and the processor do what it does for Dolby DTS, Atmos, DTS, whatever.
Yep.
And that's how the TVs are supposed to be with HDR and Dolby Vision. Now, some of them are a little different. LG gives you controls for HDR, Dolby Vision things, and there's a lot of people, on forums or AVS or whatever that, out of good intentions, they want to try and come up with these ways of doing things, whatever. But sometimes it just overcomplicates it, and it's not needed. So it's being able to again find what's efficient, find what works, and Sony is almost there as far as calibrate your SDR and then let the TV do the HDR.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah, that's how it should be. And the problem they have right now is with Dolby Vision and that offset, which I told Joel about the offset, and he's like, "What? Why are they doing that? They should not be doing that." And he's going to be talking to whoever at Sony and getting that removed. So
they also really, especially if they're going to integrate with Calman and like DDC or like ISFCC as you'd call it, they really should give them access to update the reference file, the config file. As you can see, like that would probably solve a lot of issues on the Sonys too, post calibration, the ones that you've seen. But we'll see if they do that. I doubt they will, but they might.
Yeah, and so as far as like learning the calibration process, again, that's mostly done beforehand, and the training is just making sure you know what you need to know and getting the history, why things are the way they are, how things have changed, and then just getting some hands-on with different stuff, specifically projector, being able to do that JVC. So, and I actually have the report of the JVC that we did.
Oh, cool.
So I'm sure that
I didn't see that yet.
So now, if you look at the report from an LG or a Sony, and you're seeing errors and the 0.2s, 0.3s, whatever, this is an example of why the reports are important, but they're not the whole picture. Because this projector turned out great, and so this comment here kind of fits with this too. Your eyes can be trusted. You need a combination of the meters and the reports and the numbers and the data with your eyes.
Yep.
And sometimes, especially with projectors, you have to figure out where do you make the sacrifice? Where do you change one thing to affect another? And so if scroll down here.
And that's, people have been taking my words out of context. Like it comes down to you can't always make the charts look perfect. So when I say, hey, the numbers don't matter, I don't mean ignore numbers entirely. I mean, use the numbers as a guide, but realize that you need to, if you're going to be off, you need to be off in the correct way so that you get the best possible picture with making sacrifices here and there that solve larger problems, essentially.
Yeah.
And Joel's really good at that.
Yeah. So like this right here is a perfect example. You see, like this, if this was an LG or a Sony or whatever, and you saw this on your chart, you'd want to change that. And we did. We got this flat. The problem was we had to sacrifice a ton of light output from the projector and contrast. And the number one most important thing is dynamic range. And so this was where we decide how much of the light output do we want to sacrifice to bring these closer together, or how much will we let these separate to have more light output. So we ended up with 85 nits instead of 100, and with an error on blue instead of this green right here.
So brightness and punch of the display, but you need to balance that with accuracy. So if we went super accurate on this, we might lose a ton of light output. We don't want that. It's going to look terrible. So you have to kind of make your own kind of decisions on the spot. So that's why a good calibrator isn't just going to follow the software. He's going to look at the image and make decisions, and he's going to make the right choices.
Yeah, and the gamma controls in particular were very weird with this projector. You can see how weird this measurement was out of the box, and we really couldn't get to a solid 2.4. So we ended up here at 213. And what's cool is as it's doing its measurements at every 10 IRE, once it was about here, I called it. I said it's going to end up being 2.13, and that's exactly where it was. So that's just, as you're doing it, you're learning, you just be able to tell those things and be able to call it. And so, here we had this really big peak at 40, 50. There's still a little bit here, but it's much flatter, much better.
Yeah. JVC has an auto cal. Most people think it's like grayscale, colors, all this stuff. What it actually does is it sets luminance. So you take your little i1 Pro 2, and there's other ways around it too, but you take your i1 Pro 2 and you just face it towards the screen, and it will do a luminance auto cal from bottom to top, not colors, not grayscale, none of that. But that usually flattens out your gamma, and then you can go in and start doing like 2 points in CMS with a really good base. So I wish we had done that, but I think we did everything manual on this projector.
Yeah, and I think they just wanted the manual just because they had one projector to try and teach us how to do all projectors,
Right, so, exactly.
I'm pretty sure it was a NX7. It was not one of the new ones. It was a few years old, and I think
it was a lamp-based one.
Yeah.
It's a nice projector. They had an 85-inch fixed screen, screen on the wall, and it looked basically like an 85-inch plasma. It looked really cool.
85-inch cinescope, so it's wider.
Cinescope. Yeah,
it was probably the height of like a 77-inch, but just
something like
wider.
That. Yeah.
And then so for the colors, you learn that with the primaries, red, green, and blue, the important thing is the luminance, and then with your secondaries, it's the hue. So you can see this yellow in this box right here is pushing to green. So you just fix that by getting it lined up right, and the same with cyan, magenta. And then our primaries, just about pushing them into the box. So you can see here where initially it was at 95 nits. So we did lose 10, 11 nits in the process. But again, that's where it was, how much do we want to lose to make the numbers better?
Yep. And another side of the coin, guys, if you're going to be doing a projector for SDR and HDR, you have to realize that just like with an LG OLED, you don't want to run your SDR at 100%, backlight for SDR, and then the same thing for HDR. You need to balance it so that HDR still has that pop, and SDR isn't going to be brighter than HDR in the end. So you do need to make very personal choices on getting that projector to look correct in both modes. And that depends on the room, depends on the screen, the gain, the throw distance, everything. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into projectors.
Yep. And Joel was talking too about when he does a projector, Dolby Cinema is 38 lumens. So that's what he wants. That's what he wants to see when he does a projector, as close to it as possible. This one was like 20, 22, something like that. So decent, but not there. So what else? Yeah, and the other thing with this projector was getting near black. That took us a while because it was a lot of back and forth, because we either lowered the black level too much and then it was just crushing. But, with a projector, you're not going to get real black. So the screen still looks kind of grayish. So the question was then, so what black level gives it where it matches the black level of the rest of the image, like the floor of what the projector was capable of?
And we were on opposite sides of the screen. I don't know if you remember. I actually walked around, so I was dead on with the projector, because that screen, it may have been like an ambient light rejecting screen, but your black level changes when you're off angle with that projector screen. Yep. So again, a calibrator could be sitting at his computer looking at the screen and adjusting black level, not realizing that he's either raising it too much or crushing it just from the angle he's sitting at.
Yeah, from the angle that I was at off to the side. So I was the one at the laptop doing the computer side of the things, and Jason Dustle had the remote and was making the changes that I would tell him to make.
And then Joel was calling like general shots.
Yeah,
like,
Joel had the center seat. And so like from my angle, I could see a little bit more of the shadow detail and, down to like 18. But from the center, it was harder to see that. So that's the end of that report. So let me see. Where's the picture of that? Right here. Yeah, so this was all of us around the projector.
It's me chilling in the back.
Yeah. And so there's my i1 Pro 3. There's the Jetty. We compared the two. When comparing the two on the LG OLED, they're essentially the same. When compared on the projector, there was a little bit of a difference, but it was still within margin of error. So we went ahead and used the Pro 3. And then out of the picture frame, there was the Klein, like somewhere over here, set up for the colorimeter.
K10.
Yeah. And then
nice meter.
All right. So to backtrack just a little bit, I'll go back to the level 1 training, which is the online course. It talks about white point. It talks about CRTs. If you take just the level 1, I believe it's $600. And then that gives you a level 1 certificate. And it basically just says that, hey, the history of it. You got the basics down. But if you want the hands-on with the projector and HDR and just get like verification that the ISF process for these things, that's where you go to the level 2 and the level 3 class. Now if you buy all three as a bundle, at least currently, when we paid for it was $1,800 for all three. So people who are asking, should they just get one and then decide if they want 2 and 3, you can do that, but then you end up having to pay the $600 plus the $1,800. Whereas if you're going to do all three, then just pay the $1,800 and you're done. Now, originally the class was going to be in Indiana.
Yep.
So it's if you don't know, it's through Cedia. So you can always go on the Cedia website, look up when and where the classes are, or you can just contact Jason, and then you just decide what you want to do. But again, I would recommend not worrying about it until you already have your colorimeter, a spectro, your pattern generator, and experience with at least the main three: LG, Sony, and Samsung. Even if that means you got to buy a TV just to practice with, or just try and find a friend or somebody that that has one. So here's the thing: is like with Samsung, I'm pretty sure you need like like the mid-level ones don't really offer as much calibration options. Some of the higher ones or the lower end ones don't. Sony, I know like they have the 20 point that you can unlock and Calman support on the high end ones, but I think they'd go down to a 10 point on some of the lower models, but that's still fine. It's enough to get your basics down. And then LG. So when I had the QNED 90, it was a Alpha 7 processor that wasn't supported by Calman. So that was all done manually. And even then, if trying to use the LG patterns, it would glitch out and wouldn't make it through a whole sweep. So basically wasn't able to be done that way. That's where you would need an external pattern generator, which you can start with a Raspberry Pi. That's what we did. So $60, and that'll get you your SDR. And with like a Sony, that's all you need.
I've actually got one here. I might be looking to sell it, so I'll figure that out later on.
Yeah, it's not hard to set up. There's guides that tell you how to do it. Basically, you just put what you need on an SD card, and then you go get something called device control. It's real easy. Maybe one of us will do a video on like a step-by-step process for that.
You can do device control. So the neat thing about it is if you hook it up with LAN just to your laptop, you can, there's tutorials for it. You can just create a local area network and Calman can pick it up. You don't even need device control. It's pretty neat.
Okay. And what
I don't
message?
know what message?
Yeah, I don't see any other message. I see this one. So just
just join.
Again. But yeah, if you want to join membership, go ahead. So the LG Calman guide I put probably 30 hours or more into that video. And I'm gonna get like no return on doing that video, but that's fine. That's something that membership helps to support. And then like I know you're working on color space stuff, and you're probably gonna get even less views on that because less people use color space. That's kind of what the memberships help is, just our time, that goes into the stuff.
I mean, let's face it, people aren't watching calibration channels, like a lot of these channels that review TVs, that's what they're looking for. I am amazed and blessed at how many subscribers I actually have, since all I do is cover calibration. That's all I cover, really. So I'm amazed at anybody that subscribes to me or even joins my channel. Like that's just insane to me. But cool. I mean, I welcome it.
All right. So let me switch over here to my DaVinci window. So again, I brought my camera with me. After doing the projector, I just took a couple little clips. Can't show a lot because of copyright, whatever. But again, I was shooting in Vlog, which basically means the image is flat, and you'll see this. Wrong thing. All right, let me make this full screen.
Oh, fun.
All right, so do you see how this image looks kind of bland and not very colorful? That's what happens when you shoot in Vlog. It is just trying to capture dynamic range, but you have to apply the LUT to it. So, I have a Panasonic camera, so I could just use this Vlog to 709. And as you move around here, you see like different points. So you see how much more color there is now, how much more range. And that's just doing it to 709. So if I double click that there, now you can see that difference.
Nice.
But if I wanted to make it look like a Sony camera, I could make it look like a Sony camera. If I wanted to, change to a different type of look that Sony can do, I can do that. If I want to make it look like an ARRI, I can do that. So whenever you're seeing YouTube videos, anyone using like DaVinci, they can pretty much change the way that what they shot looks just with a click of a button like this. So just keep that in mind when watching certain videos out there. Personally, I always try to, like, I'll just sit here forever looking at the actual screen on whatever TV I'm shooting and trying to figure out how to make it look exactly like what I'm shooting.
Right.
That's really important to me. Even though I know once it goes through YouTube onto your TV, it's going to look like whatever your TV can do. But as long as the source is matching what I want and I'm the creator, that's what calibration is all about. So if
Correct.
you have a calibrated TV and it's similar to my calibrated monitor that I'm using, then you should be seeing what I'm seeing and what I shot. And that is the whole reason for calibration.
Very true.
So
I ended up playing like 2 hours of Super Mario Sunshine the other night because it just looks so damn good on this TV. Like, I haven't played that game in years, and it looked just amazing. So it was so gorgeous.
And then this is what happens when you improperly try to convert a video to HDR. And even if you there's a different gamma. So this is why doing the HDR conversion, and that is one problem in itself or hard enough. And then getting that uploaded to YouTube is another problem because YouTube has very strange requirements for doing it. So that's still stuff I'm looking into and figuring out. But let me go back to this one. And what I'm going to do is now go to the beginning. And there's a way to make this full screen. Where is it?
Sammy says that projector is an RS600. And
Okay.
Sammy knows his JVCs. He's got one.
There we go. All right. Can you see that okay now? Because I had to make mine full screen. Can I do that?
Yeah, I mean, if you can zoom in, it looks better and better. So you can keep zooming.
All right. This should be it. So let me hit play, and then I don't know if there will be audio or not. There wasn't much. This is afterwards. So this is after doing the calibration. Everyone left the room. I just shot a couple video clips. And now you see how the wall is like flickering? That's because of when shooting with the camera, the shutter speed, I matched it to the display, but there's still a little bit of light in the room. So now it looks like there's shimmer, the flickering in the walls and stuff. But so just kind of looking around. You can just see how good that projector. Okay, never mind. This is before everyone left. The next one's after everyone left. But this is where you're there. Ben was there. Most everyone else left.
Dude, I saw Speed Racer in the Irvine Spectrum IMAX, and it was amazing. And I'm so mad they never did some sort of IMAX UHD like 4K release for that movie because it was incredible. Need to start a petition. We got Corey in the house. Jedi, we'll get to your question on the FOMO video probably later, like in this stream, because I know you asked me on my channel, but I still don't know what it was. So I'll have to check it out. So again, guys, this is a projector. It's not a plasma.
And it's really surprising how good the colors look, the skin tones, everything. So
yeah.
And it's not HDR. That's just regular SDR.
Yep.
And I'm going to close out of that. Yep, that's the projector that we were training on. All right, and then so I got this little video that we shot. Let me get to the start of it.
Well, that'd be fun. I'm using my calibrated Dell monitor as my my light because it's got the new white point. So if it's reflected on my face and I look natural, that's why.
I'm not hearing audio through my headset. Let me change this.
Sure. And are you still going to put some of that stuff into like an actual video, or are we just doing everything on the stream?
I didn't really shoot enough stuff to do like a full video, so I just figured we'd just do this stream and talk about it, and this will just stay on the channel so anyone can watch it whenever.
Okay. I'm going to try to...
Why am I not hearing this video?
I wonder if I have that cable.
All right, now I do. Okay. It's kind of quiet.
I'll send it to you later.
All right. All right, so I'm going to play this video. Let me know if it's not loud enough, and I don't know what I can do about it because I have the player volume all the way up.
It better not blow out my ears. Can't hear a thing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, then I might have to just do that in an actual video.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just have to actually edit the video, fix the audio, and whatnot. But all right, well, so we got pictures to go through at least. So we can do this. Share screen. This is what most of the class was.
Yeah.
They had what was the projector they had? It was an old giant projector. That's what was making, and they're using it just for this, which was funny.
I want to say it was a Runco 1080p DLP projector, but don't quote me on that.
Runco, but I don't remember anything else. But yeah, the thing was huge.
Yeah.
So small class. Again, most of it was just listening to Joel tell his stories.
Oh yeah, good stories.
Then there was a Sony here. It was a was that a Z9F, something like that?
Z9F. Yep.
Yeah. Trying to remember who did the calibration on that one.
I think it was the two guys, the integrators up there at the front of the room. I forgot their names. I know we've got Ben in the back.
Yeah, he was doing this LG over here.
Yeah, Ben was working on the LG, which, like I said, if you guys had put me on that LG, I would have been there way too long. It would have been like, for me, it would have been boring. So I'm glad someone else got the LG.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want the Sony or the LG, and I went and did a Samsung.
Yep.
It was a 8K 900. Was it the R? Yeah, I think it was a 900R or T. May have been the T. All I know is the Samsung was no fun.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can make the image look good, but the charts on a Samsung are not going to look good, and there's not much you can do about that. And that's, again, where your eyes matter, and you just do what you can. But that's just because the Samsung, their method is to just have complete control and not give it up. So Joel was actually talking about, he knew a guy that was at Samsung for a while. This is back in like the plasma days, the 3D days, up to the KS8000 days. And, tried for years to get them to give calibrators control. And so that we wouldn't have to, go into the service menu and break things and whatever.
Yep.
And eventually that guy's like, all right, we're going to put in the cal day, cal night mode, but you're going to have to go in the service menu to unlock the modes. And that's it. So he does that. That guy then goes off to TCL. Samsung doesn't even know or care or remember that those modes are in the new TVs anymore.
Yep.
And so they're there, but they don't even really work how they're supposed to. So as I unlocked those modes on the one in the other room, the 8K set, started out trying to use that, and it was getting bad results, just not working well. Switched over to just the home picture mode, did it manually, finally got through it. But it's just funny that they finally did it, and then that guy leaves and no one else knows or cares. So
I should have busted out Calman for Panasonic on the plasma that I worked on. It was a VT30. I can't remember if that one actually had the ISF CCC controls where you can actually hook up an Ethernet cable and basically almost like auto-cal itself. That's the plasma I was working on. But I think I might have been able to, but I did it all manually and it came out wonderful. I don't know if you remember looking at it or not, but it came out really good.
Yep. So then here's Dustin walking around. There's Dwayne Phillips commenting right now. Here's me looking over at the Samsung right here. You can kind of see from my laptop right there what it's looking at. All right. Here's Ben doing that LG. This is what we measured both of our spectros and the Klein against. Not the Klein, the Jetty, and got, again, basically the same results as the Jetty. The luminance was off by like 4 nits or something. But other than that, the coordinate was the same. So here they are over working on that Sony.
We did a lot of motion training, by the way, guys, on that Sony, showing the differences between the de-judder functions, the motion flow, Cinemotion, and how it should properly be set for cinema. So that would be a very good class for some of these YouTube guys to take to understand what proper motion looks like so they can better review a TV for its motion.
Yeah, I mean, I still see comments all the time about Sony's that, they're putting Cinemotion on high when it shouldn't be. They're, doing all these things with the motion settings. And they're actually very easy and simple to set up once you know what each of the 3 functions does on Sony's motion. And as long as they're correct, it has excellent motion.
Oh, yeah. It's literally some of the best I've ever seen especially for cinema, for 24 frames per second. It looks unreal. It looks great.
Yeah, there's that projector they were using.
Okay.
So Sammy, if you're here, maybe you can tell. All right, here's that Samsung working on.
Oh, nice. Is Joel grilling people?
All right, here's the Hisense.
Oh boy, how did that come out?
I felt bad for them working on that Hisense. The Hisense and TCL, both, those are prime examples of why you don't want the charts to look good. Because as soon as you're done and you're like, wow, I got these charts with low errors, and then you switch on to real content and use your eyes, like, what the hell am I looking at?
Do we know, was that a U8, like an older model, or was that a U8G, or do we know which TV that was?
I think it was the 2020. So the U8H? No, U8. God, they changed H8G or something. They changed they literally just moved the letters around in the year. And anyway, it's like a 2020 8. It was essentially the flagship, I think. But yeah, it has like 20 point and everything. The problem is once you do it, you end up with like no color. It looks washed out. It's just crap. And that's one that you have to make sacrifices, touch as little as possible, and go back.
That's why I don't recommend Hisense. I'm sorry, I just don't. TCL might be H9G. TCL might be getting some recommendations from me if the 3D LUT process actually becomes a thing. So I'll let you know. But Hisense, nah. That was like the last TV. I didn't want to get pick last for soccer and have to work on the Hisense.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. Like, they just basically moved the H from the first letter to the last letter, and I hated that. Like, that's one of the more complicating things. And then they made the 8 replace the 9. It was just dumb.
We should have invited what's-his-face to the class. Yeah. That'd be great. Joel would punch him in the face. There I am doing security.
And that's the end of the pictures. So yeah, this kind of shows like when deciding between the Klein and the CR100, this cable, not removable. And this thing is like a big plastic dinosaur compared to a CR100. CR100 is like the length of a pencil, really compact metal like that. I'm going with the CR100 removable cable. In practice, supposed to be better low light.
I already made the decision on the Klein K80.
Yeah, the Klein does have a laser pointer though, which is great for projectors.
Oh, it worked beautifully. Both that and the Jetty have lasers, so you can line them both up so you're measuring the same spot.
Exactly.
True. I mean, who's going to spend $400 on a $400 TV? You'd be better off buying a better TV than getting a Hisense calibrator.
Yep, it's like buying a Corolla and then trying to make it go fast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah. So overall, I absolutely recommend taking the course. It's not really a ton of money for what you get in return, getting your name on the website, all that stuff. It's just make sure that you have the experience and the time invested before you do it. You don't have to worry about failing or tests or things like that. It's just showing your commitment to it.
Pretty much. And I wanted to go hang out with Cecil. I wanted to go meet Jason, and I had Meridio stuff that I need to buy anyways. So I figured, well, if I'm out there, I'm going to get certified, buy some equipment, get my name on the dealer's list. It's pretty much a win-win. But getting to meet these guys basically also built a network. So if someone were to ask Jason Dustol, hey, I'm in San Diego, who should I reach out to? He can refer him to me. Like, that's the reason why I went, was just being in this network and not just having a YouTube channel and, just hoping that people find me, So that's what it comes down to for me.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, then of course, like I said, it's as with a lot of trades, you need to learn it with the experience first, and then you just take the course, even though you already know it, just so that people know that you know it. You just have that paper, you have that certificate, you have, that on your business card, and it just helps in a business sense. And like, do you have to be certified to be good at calibration? No, I mean, D-Nice isn't.
And it doesn't matter. Like, the guy's built such a great network. He knows what he's doing. He's got all the equipment.
He's done it forever. And the other biggest thing too is you learn that there's so many different ways of looking at the same thing. Yeah. Everyone's going to have their own way of doing it. So again, this will segue into the other part of the stream where the video I did on the LG calibration guide using Calman was aimed purely at like first timers, keeping it simple, skipping steps that could possibly mess up your TV, and then you have to factory reset and do it over again. I just wanted to get rid of all that, bring it down to the base level. How do you get a good calibration out of your TV if you don't really know what you're doing? And that's why I literally went through how to download Calman, each extra little thing that you should download, going back and forth between the TV and the computer, trying to make it as simple for anyone to follow as possible. And again, if you want to auto cal HDR, go ahead.
Enjoy your factory reset.
Yeah. If you use the Dolby Vision config file upload from the Calman software, I have not had good luck with that. I'll just leave it at that. And usually Dolby Vision's done last. So let's say you just did 3 modes of SDR, 2 modes of HDR, and then you get to Dolby Vision. You got 10 hours into this calibration, and now you need to factory reset. That's why I didn't put it in there.
I'm sharing. Sammy just texted me the picture from his ISF training class.
Okay.
So if you want to share that real quick.
Thank you for the super sticker, Joey. All right. Yeah, so that's why I wish Sammy was on here to talk about how different things were when he did it, 10-ish years ago, something like that.
Yeah. Pretty cool, actually. You can see the multiple projectors. Wow, look at all. I'm just looking at how many people are in this room and how many monitors and displays they have. That's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Is that Joel hiding out right there? I think that is. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
For a laptop, I just wanted something that's thin and light, decently quick enough. and most laptops now don't have many USB ports. So just
Yeah.
get a splitter that actually works. I got one with an Ethernet on it because most laptops also don't have Ethernets, especially
Yep.
if they're thin.
Correct.
And the other problem, so I was doing a C1 this weekend, and I'm about 45 minutes in doing SDR, and it just keeps disconnecting from the TV in the middle of the 1D LUT. Actually, I can show a picture of what it did. It was so weird. I have not seen this happen, and it ended up delaying my entire calibration by an hour because
Wow.
of a bad Ethernet cable. That's it.
Oh, it's the worst.
And it was so hard to try and figure out that that's what it was. I ended up having to just the guy wasn't quite sure what his password was for the Wi-Fi. He was well, I don't know if he told me 2 numbers instead of 3 numbers, whatever. So I just didn't want to make him go upstairs and go check whatever. So I was just running Ethernet from the TV to the laptop.
Yep.
It makes the connection. It should work fine, and just kept running into problems. So then finally, I just connected to his Wi-Fi. No problems after that. But it was just so annoying to lose an hour of time, waste an hour of time for the client for something as simple as an Ethernet cable.
Yep. The guy at NVIDIA whose TV I did had a very secure Wi-Fi and hard LAN network. Just everything was super protected. So again, just running USB to Ethernet from my laptop directly to the TV, that worked flawless. But yeah, you never know if you have a bad cable. I think I need. Do you remember what you guys told me about the Meridio having a bad USB cable? I need to buy a new one because I've noticed it will lose communication with Calman sometimes.
Yeah, I did tell Jason that the blue ones that they were shipping with, both me and Sammy, had problems with that cable.
Yeah.
So they should be switching to a different one.
So I just saw this comment from Chris. That's what I'm using as a ThinkPad. I don't know which model it is. I could probably look at it real quick. But that's what I use for my calibrations. The reason I like this one is just that it has a USB-C connector, so I can connect directly to my Dell, pretty much monitor.
Yeah. So this, how would you see that and think Ethernet cable as the 1D LUTs being done? Like that was just, I redid it multiple times, and it was just so annoying. But things like that happen. When we were at the training, they were having problems getting connections and getting the radio to talk with Calman and like all this stuff, and it happens all the time. And it's good that it happens, in the training, whatever, so they can talk about it, show how to, what to do. A lot of times it's as simple as just turn it off, unplug everything, plug it back in, do it again.
Yeah, I find I have to just hit the disconnect button and just reconnect, and I'm good. Mm-hmm. When you see the methods that both Sammy and I use for color space calibration on the LGs, it's probably going to incite a lot of people to go out and buy color space that are calibrators, just because it's a completely different approach and it's wonderful. So you'll probably be like, damn it, I need color space for my LG calibrations.
This is a little off topic, but I have the picture here, so I might as well show it. I'm going to work on a video about this, but anyone saying to play Dolby Vision games without a calibrated TV, don't. I mean, Dolby Vision games are bad enough, but this is what a Dolby Vision out of the box Dolby Vision game mode on the LG is.
That looks almost exactly like Cinema Home from the video I did today. I'm sure you laughed at that, didn't you?
Yeah, that's why when you said that Cinema Home was like the worst one, I'm like, I think game mode is gonna take that crown.
I'll measure game mode, but based on my findings, I think they're doing the same thing for game mode as they're doing for Cinema Home.
Yeah, probably it's extremely similar. Yeah. But yeah, just that's one of the issues with some people who do these recommendations and stuff, and these guides are like they're sometimes done after calibration instead of before, and for 99% of people, play HDR10, not Dolby Vision.
Yeah, HDR10 won't have that issue unless you're using even dynamic tone mapping tracks better than that, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's not as accurate, but it tracks better. I did a 20-minute video today, guys. It's super handheld amateur, like Cloverfield style, but it basically is kind of the secret to fixing all 3 modes without having to sit there in front of Calman for about 45 minutes to an hour per mode to calibrate it with the AutoCal. No, maybe like 45 minutes per. And then if you mess it up and you have to factory reset, then you start over. But anyways, the way that I showed it, it's very easy as long as you have the calibration equipment, and it works. It works really well.
So back to the calibration guide I did. Again, that's just for the basics, getting it done right. I mean, I've seen other videos coming up on YouTube that were just way wrong, doing things terribly, telling you not to use, or that you don't need a spectro, whatever. So I just wanted
it's chaos out there,
as
man.
the starting point. More advanced stuff, we will have more videos and doing more stuff showing that stuff. But for a baseline, just wanted to get that out there. And then Corey, this is the laptop that I bought, and wow, it went up in price a lot.
I think Costco has the one that I had. The one I bought was like $7.99 or $8.99. I think it was $7.99.
Yeah, I got this like $520 or something. I think it was open box, but still, I mean, it doesn't matter. It was like new, but something similar. That's what I use.
Yeah. So I forgot who it was. Who had mentioned they were saying that they really loved Lenovo. Was it like Louis Rossman or one of these other computer guys that just said they're super durable and they work?
It depends on the model.
Okay.
So I mean, I've worked on all these for years, and my problem with Lenovo is their trackpads to me are awful to touch, and they used to be tanks. They're not anymore. I actually think Dell's Latitude, or like their more business professional line, is fine. And usually a company will upgrade every 3 years. So you can get one refurbished, used, whatever, from like a repair center, 3 years old, that's still just as good today, for like $200-$300. And
throw a little SSD in there and you're good to go.
A lot of the repair places do that automatic. Like that's where I was at. So what we would do is we get them in, put in everything that came out of our location had an SSD, every single thing.
That's all you need. Yeah. Beautiful.
So, all right. Thank you, Chris, for the super chat.
Doing our best.
So don't know if anyone here watched our videos earlier, but if you got any questions about them, go ahead. I did see IRL HDR had a question earlier about the EDR.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I did not bother trying the EDR because you already had. And I believe you said it's basically the same as using raw XYZ. So
here's the thing. It does measure the panel differently, especially when it comes to the color of red. The problem is that I tried both the one that FSI created, which is the old one you used to have to hack into Calman to use. And then I also tried the new one, which Tyler created with, I think it was a 55CX in his actual colorimeter. The problem with these is no one's colorimeter is the same. They all have different ages, different offsets. They're all out of spec with one another. So you could be in raw or use the EDR and not know which one's actually closer to accurate. So you can use it, and rest assured it's probably better than raw XYZ, but you still, from at least my actual meter, it's going to underreport green and overreport red, and that's going to cause a green image without the EDR. Holy crap.
Yeah, so if you didn't watch my video earlier, this was in the video at the beginning, and on the left is with the profiled meter using a spectro. This is the same exact reading, just done with, you can see, switch back to raw XYZ, and you can see the difference here, and exactly what you're saying. It sees more red and not enough green, and then when it compensates, that's how you end up with that image that looks like, where is it? This down here instead of that.
Yeah, I've actually got it on my screen if you want to see it really quick. I'll share it. because I know someone asked me for that video, so I'll just share a screen.
And,
I must have shared on something else earlier.
Yeah, so it wouldn't matter if it's Calman or color space, the Spectro is needed. So now
Yes,
you can buy one. There are places where you can rent one, or you can have a calibrator come do a profile for you. If you can't do any of that, then just don't buy the colorimeter and Calman to begin with and pay someone to come do the calibration for you. That's the best advice.
What this screen shows, and if you ever watch this video, this is my 65C1, I believe, which is reference. Like, this panel is absolutely perfect. It's got a 0.2 delta average across all points. When I measure the panel with the same point that I'm looking for, and I'm using the EDR or raw, my average error increases by about 1.5 delta, and my max error, which is especially on white, notice how it gets more and more inaccurate as you go towards white, is a 3.3 error. So equivocally, these LGs out of the box, if they're set up correctly from the factory, which most of them aren't, your average delta is about 1.8 to 2 anyways. So by using an EDR and then calibrating it, you could be getting either more accurate or you could be getting way less accurate. You just don't know.
All right, Timothy, thank you for the super chat. Just thanking us, and thank you. And the Spectra that we use, I have the i1 Pro 3. You have the EFI, which is basically the same thing as the i1 Pro 2. The difference between them is just the brightness that they can measure up to. The 3 goes up to 5,000 nits. And again, we compared them together against a high-res Jetty, and on OLED, no difference.
Yep, they're super nice. The one I'm using is the one that Sammy was using for his calibration business before he upgraded his equipment. And he's done his comparison, so I'm very confident in that Spectro for everything outside of lasers. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually did take measurements here without the profile and Dolby Vision and HDR as well. I just didn't bother putting them in the video because it was kind of unneeded. But here's with profiled versus wait, that went to the why that go over too many pictures. There we go.
A different one. There you go.
Yeah, I had to go backwards.
So
here's with
very,
profile, without profile.
Yep. So what ends up happening, guys, if you look at this, you'll see the red is over reporting. That doesn't mean the image is more red. What that means is that when the software compensates for that, the opposite of red, if you look at the CIE chart, is green and cyan. So you're basically going to shift your image towards green and cyan if you don't have a profiled meter. Now, one way you can get around this, let's say you think your TV looks pretty good out of the box and you have your, i1 Display Pro 3. You can take a measurement of just 100% white and get the coordinates and then pop those in as your target and see what that looks like after calibration. It depends on if you're lucky enough to have a fairly decent calibrated LG out of the box or even a Sony out of the box. The problem is now your white point should be fairly accurate, but your color readings are going to be less accurate than if you use like the EDR or profiles. So you're kind of screwed. So you have to pick grayscale or color, essentially.
Yeah, and then so here's HDR without the Spectra, and then with. There's also brightness measurement differences.
Yep. I do all of my HDR and Dolby Vision stuff with just the Spectra, by the way. I've just gotten used to it. Jedi had a question. I don't know if we can pull it up or even want to look at it. Jedi, if you have that video and you're still in the stream, give us a timestamp because I really don't want to sit through like a FOMO video without a timestamp because it could be anything on that video that you're talking about. Something about comparing different displays and the color of something. If we're watching a video on YouTube from FOMO's camera and the TVs have metamerism for the camera, then we won't even be able to tell you what looks like what. So I'm happy to try if you have a timestamp. That was that comment from earlier class. I don't know if you saw it. Yeah.
All right, Fomo's video shows a scene in Games Cave scene. The ground's color. He's not sure which is right. Reason my message didn't show was because I was sending a link to the video. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't let you put links in the video. I think I know what you're talking about when he was comparing, I believe it was the TCL, the Samsung, and maybe a Hisense or the X95J, or maybe all four, I forget.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was playing some different games. And yeah, so the issue is when trying to know what is correct, and you have this wide range of different TVs, some calibrated, some not. But even when they're calibrated, it depends on how well they were done, who they're from. Was alternate white point used? Does the panel need an alternate white point? And then beyond all of that, especially when it comes to video games, are they using, a reference standard or anything close to it?
Yep.
There's a lot more of a Wild West thing going on with games than movies and TV.
Yeah. And like I said, you can't trust cameras because, like, you just can't trust any of it because I doubt, especially if there's like Hisense or TCL involved, I doubt that any of the displays were calibrated. So what you're looking at is you could look at different color temperatures from factory. So LG on their game mode, their factory preset is super cold, super blue. So it really depends on how the display is set. So we really couldn't give you an answer on which is correct unless I had that content I could run it on my reference display.
All right. So the side button on my i1 Pro 1 will do a single read. On my Pro 3, it's disabled, and I've never tried to enable it because I'm always hitting that thing on accident.
Same.
So I just leave it disabled, and then I'll just
Yeah.
hit the button on my laptop. So
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really neat for like little spot checks, but honestly, like,
yeah.
it's not like your laptop's across the room. So, I mean, I figure this way, if you don't have like the safety strap, you could put the meter like on the screen and then click it if you're like holding it up there and you don't want to like do this where you're like kind of reaching
That's
over. Yeah.
That's
But
what I did with my Pro 1 because the strap was broken.
yeah. You want to hear something really funny? I think I realized that the strap is actually designed where you can actually take the counterweight and double it and throw it over. I've never
for a
used that.
smaller TV. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a dummy. But I figured that just the other day when I was doing my monitor. It's like, huh. And I'm halfway convinced you can use those straps to actually lengthen the counterweight if you had a really big TV. Those Velcro straps. I don't know if you have those or not, but they're basically the right size. So I don't know.
Yeah. I have yet to find a TV that I couldn't extend and reach at least to the pattern. Be extremely close.
Those 97s are coming, classy.
Yeah.
They're coming.
But then that's what tripod's for at that point.
Yeah. I really need to find that tripod adapter because I was using a mobile phone, like one of those little things that kind of clinches to do the projectors that I've been doing. So it's gonna be interesting. I'll see through. Are you checking questions?
Yep. Not really seeing any. I don't think there's anything missed from earlier on. No, here we go. Does the certification include any hardware they provide to you, or is the cost for the certification only? Yeah, so the hardware is separate, but while you're there, they do offer, whatever equipment that they have at, a good rate. A lot of it is at that point now being used in the class. They can't sell it as new, so they're gonna offer it as, B stock, open box, whatever. So you can get a discount there at the class. I know you walked away with your 6G from the class, and I forget if Dwayne ended up buying something while he was there, but I had already bought all my stuff.
Yeah, Ben got something too. I think he got a package. I think he got like a C6 and possibly the 8K version of the 6G. I can't remember. If he's in the comments, he'll He'll probably comment on this video later on with what he got.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he got a pretty good deal on it because they had some really nice bundles.
Mm-hmm.
That would save you a good $500,000 sometimes. So yeah, that's one benefit of doing it. And you don't have to pay for it all up front. They have their own, kind of deals that they can make with you if obviously you're a broke calibrator like me and you don't have $5,000 sitting in your pocket.
Yeah, and if it's Meridio equipment, so they'll
Correct.
do like a down payment and then a payment for the rest over a year or something like that.
Yeah.
Sadly, I can't get payments on a CR250 or a Jetty or anything.
Can't get payments on that K80. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna find out. But that's what I'm saving up for. So I'm probably gonna be putting aside at least 20 to 30% off all my paid labor towards that meter until I have enough. Plus, it's tax season, so I'll be getting something back on taxes for sure. And I got all sorts of other stuff I got to get done.
All right, yeah. So, Iraq, I don't know if you were here from the beginning, but again, absolutely, go for the course and stuff. But first, I would say get your equipment, get the software you need. So here's the thing with home, is you would have to buy Calman Home for LG, Sony, Samsung. Maybe you could just use manual only for Sony and be fine. But if you get what is it, Video Pro or Ultimate, which is $2,000 and $3,000, then you have everything. It opens up being able to read SPDs and other things. But you can get away with a home version at the start. I'm trying to think. I would say probably if you get LG, home for LG, because then you can do LUTs on LG and then just do manual for Sony, and you could do manual for Samsung and probably get away with that. And then we saw that the Raspberry Pis actually are getting HDR soon.
So Raspberry Pis for HDR, they're only the Raspberry Pi 4s.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not 100% sure if it's the official P generator that he created is getting the full update for HDR, or if it's going to be through the TED's calibration disk or not with device control. I don't know yet. If that gets released, I might just pick one up so I can do a video about it on how to use it and how to work it. But if you go to ABS forum, there is a dedicated like Raspberry Pi thread, and the very first post has like everything you'd ever need to know. And they're fairly inexpensive. You can build your own, like you get your own little kits. Like this one I got has like little heat sinks and everything in here. I made sure I got one that actually had like full fat HDMI out on it. But yeah, these are really cool. If I don't sell this, I might just put it in my rack. So if I ever want to run like LUTs on my TV, it's just going to be hooked in permanently.
Yep. So yeah, for LG, there's nothing really wrong with just using the LG pattern generator on the USB drive too. You can do that for a while. On the Sony, you only really need SDR. And especially if you have a 4K Blu-ray player and the Spears and Munzel disc, then you can use that to verify like 3070 IRE in HDR and Dolby Vision, things like that. That's how I started. But if you want to make it easy, simple, compact, go ahead and get a Meridio 6G.
Yep.
It'll work with both Calman and Color Space. If you go the route of the VideoForge Pro, I don't believe that works in Color Space.
They have an option to control it, but I think you lose some features possibly, but I know it's supported. It actually kind of sees it as almost like a 6G, or like it's like one half of that pair. But the reason I got the 6G was for HDR patterns for Samsungs and projectors and verifying Dolby Vision. So like the video I did today, I would not been able to do with the internal patterns on the LG TV. You can't see the EOTF, you can't see the PQ because the way the LGs do it with their video pipeline, it just won't work. So that's why I ended up spending so much money on a pattern generator, is so I can generate content like that for you guys so you can actually see what I'm trying to, convey rather than just take my word for it.
Yeah, and I mean, I bought the 7, and I would not recommend the 7 to anyone just doing calibrations, really, because it is overkill.
It's pretty rad, though.
It's cool, and if you are going to use it for a really long time, maybe make the justification for it. But I kept thinking, should I just go with the 6? And for calibration purposes, the 6 is really all you need, and there's a
Look at
huge
the
price
case.
difference.
Look at the case for this 6, dude. So here's my favorite thing.
But I keep the 7 because I do TV reviews. So input lag measurement, audio lag, things like that, and being able to put my own patterns, video files, and things like that on it.
This sucker is battery operated.
Yeah, that's the benefit of it. That would be nice to have.
So I can plug this HDMI into any display, and I can start going through all the test patterns and literally do pre-cals on display even without hooking up to my computer. So I can do things like visually with these. I don't know if you can see all this stuff, but it's got basically a whole suite of test patterns. Man, I hate this camera. This is the worst camera ever. But just remember to turn it off, otherwise your battery dies.
Yeah, keep an eye out, and you can probably find a used i1 Pro 3 for around $600. I'm debating if I'm going to sell mine or keep mine as a backup when I get a new Spectro, but I'm going to be doing colorimeter upgrade first.
Yeah, I will be selling at a very good price the Spectro that I have. To give you an idea, I bought it from Sammy for $300. So I'm probably going to sell it for the exact same amount once I upgrade my Spectro, but that's not going to be anytime soon. And by the time it's hit that point in its life cycle, $300 is going to be the proper price anyways. So that'll probably be later in the year. But I'll make a video about it, and anyone wants to buy it, they can buy it.
Yep. So the main concern with used is, was it stored properly? And is it recertified? Has it been recertified? Has it even been checked against a newer Spectra, something like that? So like when I buy a new one, I'll just double check against mine. If I were to sell it, I mean, even if I want to keep it, I'll do it either way. And then decide if it even needs to go in for recertification. But so for example, I started with the i1 Pro 1 that I bought used, and it did a job, but when I compared it to the 3, it was off a little bit, reading too low in red, actually. So it just depends. And like the Pro 3 that I bought it brand new from Radio. They literally were out of stock, and they just got a new shipment in. I had to wait an extra week. So I got a brand new that they just got in. And the paper that it comes with is over a year old of when it was certified. So, but
I would just measure it against like a higher end Spectrum and make sure it's within tolerance. There's a difference between perfectly accurate and within tolerance, because every time you take out the i1 Pro, you're basically going to have it calibrate against itself, and that there can change. Temperature, lighting conditions, all this stuff. So you have to make sure like the meter's warmed up. You have to make sure that you're actually creating the, the initialization is what they call it, in a really dark space. So I generally keep it under my calibration table with my hands completely cupped around it so it doesn't get any incoming light, things like that.
Yeah, I just throw the microfiber towel over it.
Yeah, I saw that on your video. I watched the whole thing. I learned how to do the LGs. It's great.
Yeah, and I mean, especially after verifying it with the high-res Jetty, that it, at least with the OLEDs, it's measuring the same. Completely confident in it. The only thing is you just can't do laser-based, projectors or whatever with it, just because the reading isn't narrow enough.
If I get invited for the QD OLED, I will measure it and see. I can't really do an SPD. I can try with Ultimate, but we'll see what that looks like. But
I'll just be a little Minecrafty, but it's fine.
I'll basically set it to D65 and then visually look at it and see what that looks like. And if it's like crazy pink or crazy something else, I'm gonna be like, yep, can't use it. Or we're gonna need the new alternate white points. So we'll figure that out.
All right.
Yeah, if you can hear my cats, it's because they're hungry and my girlfriend's stewing about. So they're a bunch of little whiners, is what they are. Cute, but they're still whiners.
All right, so we'll probably end in about 5 minutes. If you had any more questions on the training, or the LG calibrations, whatever.
Yep. I put in my video my email, so I've already helped a couple people, maybe 2 or 3, with the files that you need for the Dolby Vision. So feel free to email me. Don't be scared. I have it as a template. So literally, if you email me and just say Dolby Vision something, I'm just going to reply to you with what I've already sent out. So that takes no time at all. So don't feel like you're bugging me. There were some errors in that video with some of the things I was saying, but visually, if you follow along, it's correct. Like it should work. I was going to do Dolby Vision game classy to see how that measured up, because I know that was something that was of concern to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know how accurate it was, and I knew that Cinema Home was way off, so I decided to use Cinema Home instead.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we talked after, and I would just say measure your game mode separately, because I know in HDR specifically, there's a very consistent difference where game mode is not as bright as cinema.
10 to 20 nits or so.
Yeah, I've seen as high as 30, and especially, or not especially, but when boost mode is off, it's always lower. You turn boost mode on, and then it's actually higher, but then everything else is raised and looks awful. So that's the first thing I do is turn off boost mode, and then
you can literally just keep clicking create config file on Dolby Vision and just put your TV into the different picture modes, and then just copy each max luminance. The color coordinates should be the same, because those are your max color coordinates. So those are panel based, but the brightness determines your PQ tracking. So if you're doing Dolby Vision gaming and you calibrate it, it should essentially work the same as HGIG, and your sliders and everything should start to work for the games. But to be honest, there's really not a lot of good Dolby Vision games. So that's why Classy and I just say just run HDR10 for gaming, because it just works better regardless if your Dolby Vision's calibrated or not. So yeah.
So this is a good question. And there's no one right answer here. It depends on the TV and the way that it's done. So if I'm doing a Sony, I will do the 2-point first, which generally is very few clicks, and then do the 20-point so that there's as little movement on each of the 20 points as possible. Doing the LG, you're doing a LUT if you're doing AutoCal or whatever with color space. So then you can also debate, do you do it in the user menu or the service menu? Again, in my video, I didn't want anything in the service menu. We were told at ISF they wanted us out of the service menu, and my video was for beginners, and I don't want them going in the service menu messing things up. I can't tell you how many times I see people saying they hit the in stop button on the service remote. So, yeah, I wanted to leave everything as safe as possible. So with doing a Samsung, I probably wouldn't even touch the 20-point at all, because it's the way that the screen will pulsate when doing measurements. It depends on the Samsung too, but especially like the QN98 or the mini LEDs, the way the local dimming works can't be disabled, and there are pattern options that are supposed to counter the local dimming but just don't. I mean, I showed Jason at the class, it looked like a flower was blooming, it started like just little tiny squares. So imagine like Minecraft flower that is around the center and then just blooms out and everything just turns gray. So
I just use one of these, and then menu for LGs, and I've got LG, Sony, Samsung, Panasonic. Menu is the service menu, and then info is if it has a secondary function. So that would be like my in start button. With Samsungs, if it's a full array local dimming TV, run your patterns full screen, 100% window. Okay.
Yep. And
otherwise, the TV will just destroy you. You will not be able to do it.
Yep. And then the problem too with that is in HDR, because it doesn't give up control of dynamic tone mapping, it's constantly fluctuating,
Yep.
pulsating, doing whatever it wants. So
It's fighting
with
the
the
system, man.
Samsung, I'm just doing 2-point, and then just letting people know, you bought a Samsung because you like the look of the Samsung. So I'm gonna get the white point correct. I'm gonna make sure
Yep.
there's no clipping, fix the shadow detail, but then I'm gonna keep it close to that Samsung look.
Yep.
And
And
that's
then for
what.
me, if I'm doing a Sony, I don't even touch 2-point. So I do it totally different. Like I
Yep.
said, every calibrator does things differently. And then I just start with the 20-point and I just work my way down on pretty much on the Sonys. And that's just how I do it. Like there's probably benefits or consequences to both methods, but stick with what works and what gives you good results and trust your calibrator. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah. And then also with Sony, if it's an LCD, you technically do a 1-point. You just do the top, not the bottom.
That's what I do on Samsungs.
These are all little things that is very specific to not only each brand, but each model year and sometimes each model. And so we're actually going to be starting a website and forum relatively soon, where when we find this information, it will be written there. I mean, EVS is great, but there's so much there, so many people there, everything gets lost, argued about, whatever. So it's just going to be like a smaller, quiet place where you guys can come interact with us, find out these little details, these little things that we find. Yeah. So once that's up and running, we'll post about it and let you know.
Yep. I know you're going to be working on that stuff, and I'll be there. Like I answer so many questions on YouTube, AVS. I do my best, but if I was on forums that were dedicated to stuff that we're giving information on, then you don't have to go anywhere else. You just ask questions there, and we'll give you the answers. So
yeah, I mean, and YouTube comments are one that, not only is it at the point where I'm getting hundreds a day, and there's just not enough time because if I answer comments all day, I can't make content. But YouTube doesn't even give notifications for most of them.
Correct.
So I hardly ever actually see the comments unless I go looking for them. So having something like that, our own private forum to talk to you guys, that would be nice.
I put on my channel $5 a month. There's no hidden content or anything. Like all my calibration tutorials, all my informative videos are all free. But if you're a member, those comments pop up first. So when I start sorting through my comments, I start responding to those first. So that's what I do on my channel, just to kind of mitigate, hey, I can't answer all of these because there's only so much time I have in the day. And I get emails from other countries. So I'm going to be honest, sometimes I will just ignore emails because I just can't get around to it. And it's so much information that these people are asking for that I just don't have enough time in the day to, and I want to explain it all. But I think the fastest way is comments on YouTube and just be a member so I can find you.
Yep. And I think you have 2 tiers for your membership. I only have one right now.
4.
4. Okay. Yeah, I just have one again. And if anyone wants to be a member, I also have a Venmo link. If you go to my YouTube page, there's a little thing that says Venmo that people send me tips. Because whenever a super chat or whatever comes through, YouTube takes a big chunk of that. So
yeah, I know.
But anyway, again, my membership, it's you can make comments that are members only. I don't really have any videos that I make members only other than off-topic live streams, gaming live streams, things like that.
Yep.
I'll do live for everybody, but then when they're done, I turn it to members only.
That's kind of what I did. So the same $5 per month, that's where I'm going to have gaming live streams, off-topic live streams, all of that stuff. And rather than have it clog up my channel, I don't want to unlist it, but I'm going to put that stuff in there too. And then the tier that I have above is $10. And that is solely for people that want to hear me rant and chew out all these other people that drive me nuts, because I don't want that stuff on my main channel. But I got stuff to say. So I'm going to leave it there. There's 2 more tiers above that, but those are reserved for people that want to play actual games with me or hop on live streams like this. on my channel, of course. So, yeah.
All right. So Darius, I would say no, don't do just the level 1.
Yep.
I would say you already know anything that you could possibly learn in that, and it's
Yep.
relevant. A lot of it is talking about even Morse code and stuff in the 1800s.
Yes.
So it's nice to know that information on one hand, but on the other, it is not going to affect your ability to do a calibration at all. So I would just wait until you have done enough that you have the money, go do the class, get the level 3, get on the website. That's what matters.
Yep. I really do need to find a piece of content for the highest tier, because that's reserved for really special people. It's going to have to be incredible content for that. So that'll be up by, let's say, Valentine's Day.
I actually have a couple of screenshots from the level 1.
Oh, okay.
I just got to find it. What do I do with it? Where did they go?
Do you get listed on the dealer side as a level 1? I think you should. I've seen level 2s on there.
I don't. No, I was not on there until we finished the class and got the emails and stuff about it. But I didn't. I imagine you might be able to, but I don't know.
You have to complete level 2 and 3. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the reason I do that is, like, I don't even have to send people my info. I can literally send them a link to the dealer site, because it's based on location. So if they're within range of me anyways, then they're going to call me. But if they're in range within someone else, it's going to pop up.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird. Like, if you go, when you go on the website, you have the option where you can pay money every year to have like a premium listing. And when you search, my area, Akron, Ohio, it brings up something like 200 miles away that's premium listed, and then me, because I didn't do the premium listing. But I think the problem that I have too is, just because I live here, I mean, most of my jobs have been like, I went to Detroit. I'm doing a lot in New York. Like, I'm traveling all over, so I cover a huge range. So I need to do a video of like everywhere I cover, what I do, and everything like that. So so this is just a couple things that I found interesting from the level 1. Like this right here, Ferrari red doesn't fit in 709.
Zoom in more on that one too, because like it's pretty. There you go. Yeah.
And actually, I think Jason was saying Ferrari red, so this might even just be the wrong image, whatever. But he was saying that
all the shades
DCI P3 didn't even show all of Ferrari red.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just older one, whatever. But this is just showing like different images and what gamut shows the color from the image.
That's pretty cool. I went through there, but there was some stuff that seemed pretty old. But it's basically like it's almost like a handbook, like a guide for almost any situation that you may run into. It has all the service menu codes, has all this really cool stuff.
Yeah, and I thought this was interesting too, that when people talk about blooming on LCDs, it's the incorrect term. Blooming is when contrast was too high on a CRT, and it would literally bubble the image.
Yep, I used to set it. Dude, I've been working on sets since 2005, like CRTs. Like, everyone's like, oh, you just got your certification. I'm like, bro, I just decided to pay for certification. I've been THX certified for 17 years. I don't know if you have to re-up your certification or whatnot, but whatever. I got this one comment from a troll that was saying that you need to adjust color, and this is particular for LEDs or OLEDs. You need to adjust color so that the colors don't bleed into other pixels. And it just made me laugh, because I'm like, if you can get a pixel to bleed on an OLED, please let me know. Doesn't work that way.
Yep. And this is just more confirmation that gamma wasn't really a thing. Like, this says 2013, but really is 2011 where
Yep.
2.4 gamma became the standard. So before that, it was 2.3, 2.2, kind of just whatever.
Yep. It was a Wild
Again,
West.
this is why I don't use 2.4 gamma. And even if you have a completely black room, it depends on the technology if you should use 2.4 or 1886. And 1886 and 2.4 are not the same thing. They are slightly different. They have different cross points.
Yeah, BT 1886 technically is the correct point. That's what you do want to use. On an OLED that does have perfect black, you can use 2.4 and it works the same. I might actually be straying away from what we've been doing, Classy, because I've been experimenting with using Gamma 2.4 and then turning on the AI brightness function on the TVs, at least the LGs.
Yeah, so if we go back...
So we'll talk about it sometime.
Yeah, we go back 4 months ago. You were diehard, 123 nits SDR peak white, so 100 nits at
2.2 though.
Yeah. And I was doing the opposite. I was doing 203 peak to match HDR at 2.2. Now you've switched to that, and I've gone darker. I've gotten my way down to like 150 nits for SDR, and I've also moved to 2.3 gamma. So
one thing I'll say,
saying, like,
let me backtrack. When you use CIE 170 with my Spectro and I calibrate to 203 nits, it actually comes out to be about 155 nits. So I'm actually closer to you than you think, because for some reason that color matching function screws up with the actual luminance reading. But that's way too technical. I don't want to talk about that on stream.
Yeah.
But we're close, man. We're really close. I'm saying 2.4 with AI brightness might be what I'm going to go with, because that will actually lift just like your 2.3 does in a brighter room. But then with lights off in my room, like pitch black, it's 2.4. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the little bit of extra color depth by going to 2.3. 2.4 is too much crushed shadow detail. And also lowering the brightness a little bit allows the colors to stand out that little bit more.
2.4 does give you this great saturation on colors, though. So when I said I was playing Super Mario Sunshine, it was at 100 nits at Gamma 2.4 last night, and it looked glorious. Like, it looked so good, dude. With the new white point and everything, it looked like a CRT. It just looked beautiful. 65-inch CRT.
So, and then this is a cool little chart here, too, that really kind of plays with when making adjustments to your gains or bias. So, like, if on x-axis, basically blue, just adjusting blue is going to affect both x and y. But if you adjust red, you're affecting x, and if you adjust green, you're affecting y. So if you need more blue on x and y, then you just increase blue, and you've gotten it. But if you need more blue on just x but not y, then you decrease red a little bit, and that increases the blue just there. So,
or if you don't want to touch red, then you use both green and blue. So it's like,
well, yeah, I mostly do Sony, so it's whichever.
So it's red and blue,
or user menu, but
true.
And so that's what this is a little bit different though, because this tells you not to touch green. That's kind of something that was more true before than it is now. So
the key with green is basically you don't want your white coordinate to be above a 329. And that's directly from Joel Silver. So he basically means you don't want any positive errors with green. So you don't want to increase green. And since green is the brightest of the RGB colors, that's going to affect your gamma the most. So the more you mess with green, the more you're going to screw up your gamma. So you might as well just not even touch it. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, on the bottom end, so bias, cuts, low, whatever the terminology is on the TV. So, LGs generally need more luminance on the bottom end, at least this year. Sony needs a little bit less. So, yes, you have your black level control that affects everything. But sometimes if you need a finer touch, like on the LGs, you can increase your low or your cut, whatever terminology you want to use. And that'll bring it up. But if you do that on a Sony, well, then you're making your problem worse. So on a Sony, if you're going to adjust your red, green, and blue on the bottom end, Sony's bias, then you decrease. So if you need more red down low, then decrease green and blue together by a click. Take your measurement, because you're at least helping bring that low end over brightening down a little bit.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions, guys? Anything on ISF? Anything off topic? Anything via the calibration stuff? Like it's so funny. Like I wanted to do this video about Dolby Vision, and then Classy did a video today, and I literally planned for myself to do the video today. So we both did really good calibration videos. And what's kind of neat is technically you could combine both of our videos in order. Watch Classy's first, then watch mine. His is designed for general users, and then if you want to go a little bit further with Dolby, you can watch mine and do that. But like, I just thought it was really cool that we kind of both did that at the same time. So if you guys want to watch something, like I said, the two videos I went up to there are both very good.
Yeah, and it's like on mine, even with HDR, if you want to go back and set the tone mapping curves and stuff, you can do that. I just didn't want to overcomplicate the video. And whenever you hit enable calibration in Calman, boom, you're locked out.
Yep.
Your settings go gray. And I didn't want that to...
Even if you reset the LUT, the moment you hit that button, it literally puts all the Calman junk right back into place. So you basically have to recalibrate at that point.
Yeah.
So it's just tricky.
Just trying to avoid all of that, just for the basic of it. And in the end, like you saw, as soon as you do the 2-point in HDR, your skin tones just came way down, and that's what mattered.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, we'll have more videos, more of the little things that we find. I've done a bunch of those already for the Sony, but I need to start doing more LG videos too. Sony videos are just more popular.
Sony's are? Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. My top 20 videos, 19 of them I think are Sony's. So Sony related. So
I will be doing. So if you guys didn't realize, I did take down. I had a video that was pretty much outdated on calibration services. So I'll be doing separate videos for calibration surfaces with like Sony versus LG, the cost, what you actually get done from it, all that stuff. So I'll be replacing those videos eventually. But the LG video is still there. It's just, I think, unlisted or private or something. But definitely check that out.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, as with anything else in life, everyone knows right now everything's getting more expensive. Sadly, we have to get more expensive. So I think our rates are roughly the same, but I'm doing this calibration tour later this month, and then after that my rates are going up a little bit. So it was $375, I'm going up to $400. I got to pay off the training, pay off the new equipment, and again, it's only $25 more. Projectors are a little bit more, and then I pay travel expenses.
I had like a disparity, so I was always saying $300 and then $500. Right, I had two different pricing. So what I basically decided is $400 covers pretty much everything, and then $500 that's my day fee. So I'll also take care of audio systems. That covers different things on projectors, LG 3D LUTs, but I'm doing just like Classy $400 flat rate, which is the same cost as if you bought a colorimeter and Calman Home and tried to do it yourself. So I still see it as a discount.
Yep. Well, it's the perceived brightness most likely, and just the change in the white point. So the blue gain was increased a little bit, so that's going to make it look a little brighter. That's pretty much the main change, because all that was done for HDR, which was what that comparison was the 2-point. Now, if you do that same comparison in SDR, there shouldn't really be any variance in the brightness, because I measure out to 150 nits on both. But in the HDR, when you increase blue or green, or you gain a little bit of brightness. Red, kind of a little bit, but try not to touch red. In the user menu, it's okay. Service menu, you don't. But Yeah, there really wasn't that much difference in the brightness. It's just a little bit. I think it went from 670 nits to 685 or something like that, or 690 after calibration. So just that change, because mine is an oddity. Mine is different than the norm when it comes to out of the box LGs. I have seen a couple others similar to mine.
They're all over
But
the place. I
yeah,
wouldn't worry.
but normally they're not as warm as mine is out of the box. So.
And 675, that's pretty good. That's an Evo panel. My CX is about 630 nits Dolby Vision calibrated, and I think that's bright for a CX. So it's like when you sit in front of a 48 and it's only like an arm's length in front of you, it's bright because it takes up so much of your field of view. So it's great.
Well, so talking with the LGs, you don't really gain a ton with HDR calibration. Like even if you boosted up your blue and green gains like a lot, it's not going to make a huge difference. Now on the Sonys, you go in the service menu, you can gain 100 nits. The problem is then you're clipping your extended range, and so that's going to be another topic at some point we'll talk about. But
Yeah,
it's why I've moved away from the service menu adjustment on the Sonys.
Yep, I do most everything service menu with LGs, but it's not to try and boost it. It's just to get it to where it should be for all modes.
Mhm.
And then Sony's, I don't even go into the service menu anymore. They work so well with the controls you're given. I just do my 20 point in CMS on Sony's and just take my time with it, and they come out wonderful.
All right, so I travel pretty much anywhere, depending on how many jobs I can get in the area and make it worth it. So, like for this trip that I'm doing, I was trying to get 6. I ended up getting 5, but I wanted to get 6. My travel expenses is over $800. I'm only accounting 600 of it, and I thought I could divide it across the 6 people, and they each pay $100 towards travel expenses. It makes it easier and cheaper for each client. That said, I'm still only charging the 5 $100, so I'm actually paying $300 travel expenses out of pocket for this trip that I'm doing because I couldn't find a 6th person.
Yeah.
So everything that I'm getting, I'm still losing $300 in travel expenses on top of losing my overtime and pay from work that I'm losing a couple days of. So it's just a matter of trying to make it all work.
And feel free to secret shop us too with other calibrators, because you'll realize we're actually on the low end.
Yeah.
Once you see like a la carte, well, that's the base price for 2 inputs. Oh, and if you want HDR, that's extra. Like, what do you mean HDR is extra? Like, come on.
Mm-hmm. Or people who are charging by picture mode and things like that. And I'm doing your entire TV.
Joel himself, he does a day mode. So like, let's say I show up for my rate and I do your TV and you got other stuff you want me to look at. Well, if you're at my day rate, which is $500, I'll do your audio system. I bring my microphone, everything with me, and anytime I go places. If I'm bored and there's other stuff I can do, I'm going to do it before I leave and make sure it all works. So I'm not there just to wham bam calibrate the TV and leave.
Yeah, pretty soon you'll just be bringing a duster and start cleaning.
How dare you?
Yeah, so it's like similar with like doing a meter profile. I've seen some people charging like $250 for meter profiles. I'm not going to do that. Like, for me, it's $100 flat rate. However many TVs you have that you want profiles for, I'll do them all while I'm there. It's just a lot of that $100 is me getting to you and that time. So
hell, like after we're done, if you have a laptop monitor or something and you want to buy a Client 3 license or whatever, and you want your laptop done, we'll do your laptop. So I mean, it just comes down to like, if there's people that attest to this and they've actually gone out and bought Spectros and actual 6Gs and all this stuff after I helped them. The guy wanted a meter profile for $100. He was like 2 hours away. I said, screw it. I got nothing on my calendar. But if I'm coming out there, we're actually going to go through Calman and make sure the profile looks correct. And we did. So we actually made a time of it to make sure the profile worked.
All right. This is another important thing. So Joel was talking about how for his reports, what Calman spits out is fine, but he usually has people that wants the real information, the chart, like the little like Excel sheet looking boxes with the real numbers. So I don't even use the final report page from Calman now. I just literally screenshot the pre-cal. I screenshot After doing the 2-point, I screenshot the grayscale. I'm just screenshotting each page along the way, naming what they were, and putting that in a folder for you. And then I'll just make a note file of additional settings that are changed, or whatever settings I changed for each picture mode, things like that, and then give you that folder, and then that's your reports and your settings and everything. Now, something that's kind of annoying, we now need to include an extra document that says not to share this information with anyone because of bad Apple out there who was trying to sell some work that was done and stuff that just was completely immoral. So
yeah,
I'm gonna probably just like write up a little document that just says, this is for your TV. You paid for the service, not the settings. So please don't share. They're not going to work on other TVs. It's just for you.
Exactly. And the thing is, people don't realize this. Like, you can plug in someone else's settings, and some people be like, "Oh wow, that looks so much better." No, it just looks different.
Yeah. But as soon as you change anything that makes it look different, you think it's better.
Yeah, just don't copy settings. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna hop off because I gotta eat some food, hit the gym. Yeah. But any last minute questions, pop them in. You got me for like 30 more seconds.
Yeah. So again, we did a stream recently about not copying settings, so we can always go watch that if you haven't seen it yet. But that should pretty much cover everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to these macros in this diet, dude. I'm down 2.5 pounds.
Vamps. Yeah. So when you get your QD OLED Alienware, it's going to be the first one I see. It's going to be a brand new technology. So if you don't mind me spending some time there tinkering around with it, and
that's going to be cool.
Trying to learn it and stuff. I mean, unless I somehow manage to get one and review it or whatever beforehand, it'll be the first QD OLED that I see, unless something else happens in between. But if you don't mind, I'll just kind of learn it and make sure it turns out good as it goes.
Yeah, if I get to measure one classy, I'll try and send you some info, and maybe that'll help. Whichever comes first.
Yeah, we just gotta. I'm assuming our spectrals will be fine, but gotta make sure. So
that's the assumption. Like I said, we just gotta calibrate it to one point, calibrate to another, look at both of them, and be like, okay, does it need this or not? And then that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So
cool,
man. Well, I'm gonna hop off, but thanks for having me on.
Yep, thanks for coming. Thanks everybody. We will talk to you, I guess, Sunday. So have a good one.